You are listening to members of Celebrate Recovery broadcasted from Cornerstone Christian Church in Wenatchee, Washington.
Years after that, I went and was rebaptized, and I kept being told that I didn't need to. But in my heart, I felt I needed to because I wanted to do it for the right reasons. I wanted to do it because I wanted to serve the Lord. So I did, and then life happened. We grow up not knowing the temptations of the world. We grow up thinking that things are going to be easy, and I fell right into the world. I drank, I partied, I went through 2 divorces, had 4 children, and just made a mess of my life. But along the way, there were instances where God was acting in my life even though I wasn't faithful to him. At the age of 20, I fell asleep at the wheel with my future wife in the car on the way back from an ocean, and we rolled the truck, and I don't remember any of this, but I was pinned inside the car and was bleeding to death, and my wife was saved by the motorcycle in the back. But miraculously, there was an ambulance coming from a convention at the ocean come by as I was laying bleeding to death in the car and had the jaws of life to save my life. And I don't believe in coincidences. I believe God acts in our lives. We always think we're lucky or we're whatever, but I believe in divine intervention, and God saved my life that day. In the 90s, I was a drunk. Alcohol controlled my life. My catalyst to quit drinking was my son told my wife that he was scared of me, my 10-year-old son. And it broke my heart. And it made me want to change, but I couldn't change. I kept trying. I would take Antabuse and still drink. I went to outpatient treatment, still drank. So eventually they told me I would have to go to inpatient or quit the group. So I went to inpatient for 1 week, and it was enough time to get me away from the alcohol and get me on the right path. And it's just strange, the small things that happen in your life that God is pushing and moving you in certain ways. And he was preparing me for what was to come in my life. So I quit drinking, and about a year after I quit drinking, one of my children died. And I had been away from alcohol long enough that I didn't feel a need to go back and drink again. And that was a blessing from God, that I didn't go back, that he had given me the time to recover. Then a year after that, my wife left me. She didn't like me sober. I withstood that. And then a year after that, on December 4th, I was arrested of 2002 and charged with murder for a crime I didn't commit, but at the same time, that's not material to the story. What's material is I should have been in prison for other things I had done in my life, but didn't, but I go to prison for something I didn't do. It's almost irony. But a year after that, 14 months in 2004, I was convicted of murder, and I've spent the last 22 years in prison. I just got out in October. But along that way, along that path, the day I was arrested, I was put in a cell, and it was a little triangular cell, and there was every bodily fluid known to man in that room. It was horrible. And it wasn't big enough for a bed. It was just a bench and a toilet, and they threw a mattress in there, and I couldn't even lay on the floor. But that whole night, I sat there, and I felt like I was wrestling with God, because I felt like the Holy Spirit was asking me, am I sufficient? Because I had tried to call my family and nobody would answer. My girlfriend didn't answer. Nobody would answer the phone, so I thought I was deserted. And in that night, God asked me, if everything was taken from me, would I serve him? And I made a decision that night that I would serve him no matter what happened. So, like I said, I ended up going to prison. And the day that I was convicted, I was put in a suicide watch cell. I wasn't suicidal, but I was sitting in the cell and I was despondent, and a guy came to my door, and he was a guy and he looked like a gangbanger from Tacoma. And he looked through my door and he looked at me and he goes, "Hey man, are you all right?" And I looked at him and not really. And he said, "Well, would you like this Bible?" And I said, "Okay." And he hands me a Bible through the cuff port in the door. And so I sit and read the Bible all night because I wasn't sleeping. There's guys banging their heads on the wall and all kinds of crazy stuff going on in that place. But the next morning I wanted to thank that guy. And nobody in that pod, they all looked at me funny. They asked me, what are you talking about? What guy? Nobody knew the person I had talked to. No one had ever seen him. So, you may think I'm nuts, but I believe God sent me an angel. I think he sent me an angel in my time of need. And it was powerful to me. So, like I said, I've been in prison 22 years now, and I just got out in October. And the only thing I can say about being in prison was God put me where he wanted me to make a change in my life. You know, sometimes we don't listen to God and God's trying to get our attention. Well, I was stubborn. I was one of these people that I could fix anything. I could fix myself. I didn't fix anything. The only time that my alcoholism was taken from me was when I gave up and gave it to God. And the minute I gave it to God, it was gone. Miraculously. I have no desire to drink. I haven't had a desire to drink in 25 years. And it's a miracle from God. So I just decided I'm going to dedicate my life to trying to serve him and hopefully testify to what he's done in my life. And maybe it'll inspire somebody else to serve the Lord. But that was it. Thank you for letting me talk tonight.